multifaceted producer, entrepreneur, and supermodel, Tyra Banks.
Oh, now I can. I can hear myself. What's up, everybody? Okay, so I'm about to talk to you guys tonight and date the hell out of myself.
This is Alan Shea with Our Society Show, and we are here at AT&T Shape for 2019, and we just came out of an incredible, I guess we'll call it a conference from Miss Tyra Banks, and I have two incredible women, and we're going to kind of pick this thing apart because it was great and I was very proud of all of her accomplishments. But you know, I'm the kind of man and interviewer that really likes to get down to the nitty gritty, okay? And I want to run some things by you ladies to see what your thoughts and feedback would be on questions that I thought should have been brought up. But before we do that, we want to share with you viewers what these ladies' perspectives were as to what they heard today.
That type of stuff, but then got discovered to go to Paris to model. And I got discovered 2 weeks before the first day of college. So Loyola Marymount Film School was starting in 2 weeks, and so was Paris Fashion Week. And I had to make a decision. Do I go to college or do I go to Paris? Choose your own adventure. What did I do? Paris! I decided to go to Paris. However, my mother said that you studied the SAT.
Hi, I'm Dr. Neen. I'm a media psychologist. So when I was listening to Tyra Banks, who has a father who gave me her book, so I'm glad to see that when she was writing it, she was actually thinking about Model Land being a physical place. So that was really exciting because it's all about having everything transcend from one medium to another. So from the book to an actual physical place, it's amazing.
It's like you studied for college. So I went to this thing called the Yellow Pages. Raise your hand if you know what that is. Okay. Went through those Yellow Pages and found something called a fashion library. What the hell is that? But there was a fashion library in Los Angeles, California. And that fashion librarian taught me how to read a magazine, not like this, but turn sideways and open up the gutter to look at who the photographer and the makeup artist and the stylist and all that was. Then we started pulling out these VHS tapes. Who's used one of those? The V to the H to the S tapes. And looking at how the models for Chanel walked, how the models for Yves Saint Laurent walked, how the models for Dior walked, what they looked like. So I took all of this knowledge for 2 weeks and said, Mama, I'm ready.
Bring my truth. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Tressa Smiley, and I am the host of the inspirational, motivational, and empowerment talk show VIP Live. So it is a positive platform where everyone is welcome and treated like a VIP. Now, my thoughts, Tyra is amazing. First of all, I mean, from businesswoman, she shared how you should take your passion and you could turn your pain into passion. I mean, she shared how she started in the beginning and she's broke so many different barriers, and how we now are standing on the shoulders of the women that have come before us. So it's amazing, and I'm looking forward to any question that you have me, and hopefully I can be able to answer them.
I said, I'm gonna take my weave and make it fluffy. I'm gonna put on some light pink lipstick. I'm gonna pull these pearls that I have in my backpack and go like this and walk for Karl Lagerfeld. Bam, I booked that. Then I go to Yves Saint Laurent and say, Yves Saint Laurent is sitting there with his 3 ugly bulldogs running around. And I know that he likes chignon, which means hair pulled back in a bun and bright red lipstick on your face and super chic. So I did that in the back alley before I went upstairs. Bam, I booked that. Then on and on and on and on. That first season in Paris, I booked 25 fashion shows.
All right, so let me be ready for this, because I want to throw some questions. So from a doctor of media, one of the things that we are challenged by in today's climate is how do we continue to be relevant without being belittled? And she touched upon a little bit, but when we look at everything that centers around, especially African Americans, it has a very contentious assessment of value that I don't think she really spoke on for young people to say, what must they get ready for fully? So what I'm asking you is, Did you think she developed her overview discussion about today's value for our youth?
Well, I think that what you're talking about is how women are portrayed in media, and a lot of times they have shown in studies that it's actually
Paris!
sorry.
To Paris.
What you're talking about is how women are portrayed in the media, and studies have shown it's actually white females who are having the majority of the problems of anorexia and feeling that they're not good enough and that their hair isn't straight enough. Because even though we only have a few magazines that are pointed at us, like we have Essence magazine, and we have a few models out there, we have Oprah, we of course have Tyra, who's an actual model. It's not as huge a problem for us because we have our family members that we look to, and they, inside of our family, point to us and tell us, you are beautiful, you have everything going for you.
Because it doesn't sell as much, even though my agency did research and found out that my cover sold 3 times, the 3rd highest selling cover of the years that I was on those covers. Probably kind of like what I was tracking. But I still continue to hear, no, 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 no. And then something happened when I turned 19. My booty started getting thick. So a lot of the you're a black model stuff was less and less and less, but the your booty is too thick was.
So when you look at whether or not she touched on certain things that you think that she might have overlooked, I think that she did a great job of saying, you are a woman, if you look like me, there are no barriers if you put your mind to it and you keep on going. I think it was very important for her to bring in the fact that her mother was able to reach her when she thought that she should just quit, and her mother said, do not give up. And now here are all these women who, and some men now, who are inspired by the fact that she has this journey and she's been able to chronicle her journey. So I think that's the most important thing. It's not necessarily about race, because obviously she's always going to be a black female. When she stands up and says, I can compete with the way I look, who I am, and how I feel about myself, that says it all. You don't have to say, well, as a young black girl, you need to look at me and then know blah, 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 because we all look different as black women. So there's always going to be various things. She did mention about not enjoying the way that her calves looked, and she was talking about brainwashing and, I don't know if you remember the caveman she was talking about, and that's an African custom, is that if you are a thicker woman, that means your husband is successful, so he can put food on the table. And so thicker men, thicker women, it means success. And she did touch on that, and I thought that was a good point. But about her calves, she was saying, hey, if I have the chance to Photoshop my calves, I do it, but at least I tell people that I've done it. And she does it so that she looks better, because you only have a couple of seconds for people to make an opinion about your picture. So, of course, she's going to do whatever she can to look her best at all times. But I thought she was powerful with her message about being a successful businesswoman and never stop, and you have to have that mindset. So I thought that was amazing.
District. And on top of that, what if I take my pain and put it into my passion for producing television and film and show diversity? Show that beauty is not a cookie cutter. And so I pitched this show, this idea, to so many networks, and there was one, CBS/UPN, that said yes. And that was the beginning of America's Next Top Model. Now, the one thing with America's Next Top Model is people think I created it for this modeling show. No, the pain for the passion was no longer just for models and the stuff that we had to go through to adhere to this very narrow definition of beauty. The passion was for women.
But I think in the bigger scheme, and when we look at the success rates of those in the entertainment, if you take that rate and compare it to the masses, we're probably hovering at about 1 to 2%.
So difficult to live up to. So when I created America's Next Top Model, I did it twofold. I wanted to show that there are so many different types of beauty, and I negotiated that with the network.
History has always shown us is that if we're going to be successful as a group, we have to figure out a way to hit the masses, the numbers.
I also wanted to show vulnerability. I also wanted to show before and after. I also wanted to show that people can be the fantasy versions of themselves.
Her story, it appeared that she had a very grounded family.
Going into our 25th cycle Almost 20 years later. Yes. America's Next Top Model is in over 180 countries, and we have 40 international versions. It is so successful in India that we have an Indian version.
I was hoping to hear is how do you get those numbers up for those who don't come from that environment, because that's the majority of the numbers.
Different cast. America's Next Top Model is in Vietnam, China, has been in Japan, South Korea, the Philippines. It goes on and on. It's so popular in Asia that we now have Asia's Next Top Model as well that represents the continent.
I don't think she really spoke on for young people to say what must they get ready for fully. So what I'm asking you is, did you think she developed her overview discussion about today's value for our youth?
13 people, first only girls, and later I opened it up to guys. But still, only a few. And so to me, America's Next Top Model is them.
This is how women are portrayed in the media. And studies have shown it's actually white females who are having the majority of the problems of anorexia and feeling that they're not good enough and that their hair isn't straight enough. Because even though we only have a few magazines that are pointed at us, like we have Essence magazine, and we have a few models out there, we have Oprah, we of course have Tyra, who's an actual model. It's not as huge a problem for us because we have our family members that we look to, and they, inside of our family, point to us and tell us, you are beautiful, you have everything going for you. So when you look at whether or not she touched on certain things that you think that she might have overlooked, I think that she did a great job of saying, you are a woman, if you look like me, there are no barriers if you put your mind to it and you keep on going. I think it was very important for her to bring in the fact that her mother was able to reach her when she thought that she should just quit. And her mother said, do not give up. And now here are all these women who, and some men now, who are inspired by the fact that she has this journey and she's been able to chronicle her journey. So I think that's the most important thing. It's not necessarily about race, because obviously she's always going to be a black female. When she stands up and says, I can compete with the way I look, who I am, and how I feel about myself, that says it all. You don't have to say, well, as a young black girl, you need to look at me and then know blah, 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 because we all look different as black women. So there's always going to be various things. She did mention about not enjoying the way that her calves looked, and she was talking about brainwashing and, I don't know if you remember the caveman she was talking about, and that's an African custom, is that if you are a thicker woman, that means your husband is successful, so he can put food on the table. And so thicker men, thicker women, it means success. And she did touch on that, and I thought that was a good point. But about her calves, she was saying, hey, if I have the chance to Photoshop my calves, I do it, but at least I tell people that I've done it. And she does it so that she looks better, because you only have a couple of seconds for people to make an opinion about your picture. So, of course, she's going to do whatever she can to look her best at all times. But I thought she was powerful with her message about being a successful businesswoman and never stop, and you have to have that mindset. So I thought that was amazing.
Wow. Pain to passion.
My whole life, pain to passion.
And now champion.
Yes.
Champion of inclusiveness, champion of empowerment. Is that what Model Land is about? Does it continue your work?
Yeah, it really is. To me, Model Land is my legacy. Model Land will be opening in probably 6 to 7 months. And it is a place where you can go and have a model experience.
Well, it just depends on your perception. Remember that. I mean, you bring your views wherever you go. So I thought she did a fantastic job with delivering her message the way that that was her life, that was her message, so that was her moment for her. So what you're able to get from it is where you are in your life, and as far as your availability to receive information. So my takeaway is the fact that the masses that's why we're here. This is the AT&T Shape-a-thon, and they're doing a shout out to AT&T. Thank you guys for having us. This is an awesome event. This is how you build these connections. connections. This is how you build these bridges. It's one connection at a time. It's one person at a time, you know. And then if you create a platform where God granted you the opportunity where you can create a platform, which you have, then you're able to continue to grow and to continue to connect based off of who your target market, who's listening to you, who connects with your message. So, you know, with Tyra, one thing that I want to say is that the fact that you got to know your place as far as understanding where you belong. She understood that she was a visionary. Visionaries, that's what we do. We are the visionaries. We may not be the strongest executors, but she also talked about execution. And I'm reading a great book is Beyond the Idea. It's a lot of people, they get the idea, but they can't get the idea from the thought to the reality. That's where they get stuck. So, you know, it's just a whole lot between the masses, where you are, how much effort you're going to put in. Can you concentrate? Can you actually concentrate on one idea from the beginning to the end? You know, there's so many different distractions. So, I mean, what you got from it was what you were able to get from it. And I don't argue with people because that's how I keep my smile. So, so if there's anything that we can do to kind of like, you know, to elevate you, to bring you up to speed, if I'm not missing it, I'm more than happy to help out.
You know, you're like, dang, I got tech neck, I got all these things that you're trying to figure out, and I want to empower people and inspire them to be able to express themselves in the most amazing ways, to teach them the tips and tricks so that they can take them home, whether it's tips on how to dress, tips on how to pose, and tips on how to feel better about yourself. That's what Model Land is. Yeah, to me it's all about self-esteem, not just self-esteem.
And I haven't figured out. But Model Land started as a novel.
Yeah.
A novel.
Yeah.
Then why did you want to bring it to life?
So, secretly, I wrote the novel because I wanted it to be a place. I'm very inspired by J.K. Rowling and that she wrote something but did not know that it would one day be a place. I wrote it knowing that one day I wanted it to be a place. And Model Land is a fictitious story. Yeah. And the lead is a girl named Tuki de la Creme. I know it sounds like a drag queen, but it's not. She's a teenager. Tuki de la Creme. Yeah, she's a teenager. And she is super tall, super gangly, has a huge forehead, and really big frizzy hair. And she has one green eye and one brown eye. So she feels very self-conscious about her looks. There's a place in the sky. Who saw Black Panther? Yeah? Okay, so you know like Wakanda is like a secret world. Model Land is a secret world that teaches the world's models, future supermodels. So I graduated from Model Land, Cindy Crawford graduated from Model Land, right? But they have like a narrow definition of beauty, very, very narrow, and it's a negative place. However, Tuki de la Creme and 8 guys and girls that are atypical beauties get chosen to go to that place, and they don't understand why. They're ridiculed, they're mocked, but over the course of this story, they change the rules of beauty at Model Land, which trickles down to Earth's beauty and the definitions of beauty here. Yes. And the first portal that they open up, Tuki and her gang open up for the world to experience Model Land and to change beauty definitions, is in Santa Monica, California, because Tuki's from Inglewood, California, holla. Inglewood, yeah.
But what we do here on our society shows, we try and make sure we take the content that's put into our community, just like we're receiving today here at AT&T, here at the Warner Brothers studio. What we try and do is break it down so we can make sure it's effective. It's not something that's just put before us and we don't really know the substance, and we don't use it to cultivate a whole awareness. That's one of the reasons why we're covering it today. We covered it last year, and when we covered this conference last year, I felt that it had a lot of inroads for all Americans, not just blacks and whites and Hispanic, but everybody, to really understand the power of media. But if we don't really participate, especially in numbers, to understand that we're in a new horizon, a new gold mine, a whole new language, and we don't hit the numbers, where will we be in 20 years? So with that being said, I'm gonna let you close out with where we're gonna be in 20 years after hearing a presentation like today.
Well, one of the things I want to mention is that it sounds like you're looking for action steps. So one of the actions she suggested is to actually go to Model Land, which is going to be in Santa Monica, California. So when you start, if you guys get a chance to hear her speech, there are a lot of subtle things that were spoken and unspoken. She talked about don't give away your ideas. Excuse me. She spoke about don't give away your ideas because you have competitors in the office, in the audience, and I thought that was a very smart thing for her to mention to people. I think that if you're looking for some next steps, she talked about, of course, perseverance, right? You said we have something that's called media literacy. If you look it up, you'll find that it's about content creation.
Twist that and say what they want and what they expect. And then the other thing is laser-focused execution. We've all seen people have ideas and like, oh, this is gonna be the next this, and then you look at it or you experience it and it's like, this is kind of janky. So laser-focused execution is important. I have learned from the mistakes in my past on what I have done wrong and things that did not work, and I am taking that and then connecting it to my HBS executive education that I've had over the years, and combining that to make sure we execute with excellence, because I always say FOLO, YOLO.
YOLO.
You only launch once.
But what advice do you
How
give
to
this room of
discern what is real,
businesses right
what are the lessons and the messages.
All right, here we go. You guys
And
ready?
this, I thought, was a
A lot of the
great
times when you
example
are
of
a
that.
very strong,
She is
creative
giving
person
people
and
lessons as
innovative
she's
person,
speaking. She's saying, do
you're
what I
not
do
necessarily
and
the
also listen to
executor.
what I'm
You're the
not
dreamer.
saying. So it's
You're
almost
the
like she's
visionary.
throwing out
You're
these
the
red
voice.
flags
You're the
saying,
mass media
clue
megaphone.
over here,
You're the person
this
that
is the
can
next thing
excite
that you all should be
investors and
listening
say,
to.
"This is why
She
you
talked
should put
about
money into
how
my
she's getting
business."
money. She's bringing in
But
the
what
city,
you
so she's doing
need
collaborations.
are the
So if
executors.
you have a chance to
You
listen
need
to her
the
speech
CFOs,
again,
you need the
and
COOs,
use
you need those
media literacy
CTOs that are so
techniques, you'll be
strong.
able to hear
And
all the
sometimes,
unspoken tips
even
that she
though
was
we're
giving
founders,
in a mixed
we
group.
need the
So I thought this was a very
CEOs
well put
so that
together
they can run our business and we
program.
can
I
continue
think
to
that
thrive. And that's
mentioning
what I
her
have learned in
her
the
track
past.
record
I
as she
tried
was
to
going
be the
along, and she was throwing out
CEO of stuff in the
HBS, and
past,
it's like then people
and
would say, well, what does
it's
that mean? And then
not
she was
the
talking
best
about a
use of
thick
my
man,
time. I
and
need to be free
she
to
mentioned
dream.
her model's
And I
name
think that
and
is so
said
important.
gave us
The
some action steps.
second thing for
Go
creatives
and look him up,
is
Google him.
sometimes
So
what
a person
you
could say go
create
look them up,
is
or they
so
can say go
juicy
Google them.
and so
If you
amazing
use
and
the
so
term Google,
inspirational
who
that
do you
you'll
think you
get
want to have as a
partner
sponsor? I mean, it's
that's
just
like,
all these
that's not
tips and
mine.
hints she's like laying down for us.
That
And if a
happens.
person
That's happened
reviews
to
what
me
she
in
has
the
said,
past,
they will
where
see
they
here
try to
all the
push
places
you
that she's
aside, they
gone
try to take
to get
all
her
the
support
credit, and they try
financially
to
and to get
belittle you
exposure.
because you're not necessarily the person that graduated from the school that they did or had that experience. It is important to remember that it is yours, and important to try to suss that type of person out and to pivot away from them quickly.
Wow. So Tyra, you just mentioned, and you went back to school to get a graduate degree from Harvard.
Executive. It sounds like an executive degree.
So I thought it was very clever. She wasn't doing a lot of over-the-top self-promotion, but she did say, please be there. And then she said, oh, there'll be so many of you. So now everybody who's watching the show knows this was a packed audience, because when you think of Model Land, now you're thinking about Disneyland, and you're thinking, well, how many people can fit into Disneyland? So if Model Land is a little bit smaller than Disneyland, there must be a hell of a lot of people sitting in this audience. And as you know, every seat was taken in her for her talk. So she did a lot of self-promotion that people didn't hear as self-promotion. I heard it all. So I was taking notes, and she talked about you only launch once. Most people know YOLO is you only live once. So the younger people, the millennials and Generation Z and X and everything, they will just do everything balls to the walls, because they're like, you only live once. So they just say YOLO when they're jumping off a cliff or whatever. But she said you only launch once, and that's true. And then that means that you only get one time to make that first impression. So when it comes to the opening of Model Land, which she wrote that book knowing she was going to have a physical place, brilliant. She associated herself with one of the most successful books, Harry Potter series. So, and then they're at Disneyland. So she's putting all these messages out there. Now when we go out and talk amongst ourselves, what are we going to be saying? I wonder if Model Land's going to be at Disneyland. People are going to tweet that. People are going to be able to, it's going to be in social media when people follow that. So that, guess what's going to happen? It's going to pop up on the feed of the Disneyland people. And they're going to say, oh, well, what's this Model Land about? How many people came? How many people were at her? So I'm just saying, she's done a great job at self-promotion. So I think that as a black female trying to give tips to other black females, I think she gave them. You just have to listen and think about it.
All right, well, I'm going to let you ride on that one now.
So you have to like walk out of the class for that, so you can't be looking at him like you better write something nice. So I had to walk out, and that's when I was like, I can't do it anymore. I got to focus on Model Land. My very close friend was like, you can't, you have to do this. And I walked into the class, I'm like, guys, I thought this was going to be my last year, but I'm going to be here for a while.
Yeah. I mean, that's more pain to passion.
Yes.
So what's the course?
And we're going to let you close up with your assessment and certainly touch upon really, again, she indicated, you know, her promotion, but do you really believe that the number and the outreach is going to be possible, especially for those women who are less inclined to have the financial abilities, the education, and probably those that could have a greater benefit from having this kind of information?
Well, definitely, and that's why shows like yourself are very important, because you have your target market, you have your audience, and they're depending on you and the information that you're able to bring to them to shed light into their lives. So I give a shout out to you for even having this platform already being established.
But there's more, right? So producer,
Yeah. TV producer, film producer, yeah. So,
life size 2.
yeah, so I did Life Size 2, and there's a lot of people asking about Life Size 3, so we'll see if it happens. And also I have Bankable Productions. I have 2 women that are just super strong and helping me to run that company.
And giving everybody the opportunity here, because a lot of people, they don't have access to these venues. We're fortunate because we're here in Los Angeles, and you already have that. So, but with me, my takeaway is that I enjoy the authenticity behind Tyra, okay? I enjoy the authenticity behind any opportunity. So I'm not that type of person that's gonna come and bring any difficulties, say it like that. I can't even get the word out. I'm the person that's coming to bring the light and coming to bring the love. So with the opportunity, I felt that connection with her. She's a brilliant woman. She gave us all so many different tips as far as where her next moves, how far she's come from the past, and where it is that she's going, is whether you were ready to receive the information and start applying it. So I believe that the numbers, they will come. If you stay authentic with your game and who you are, and I stay in my lane, y'all, just so you know. You stay true to who you are, your numbers, they have to come, because at the end of the day, it is a numbers game. And you may not have them now, but eventually, if you stay true to who you are, they will come.
A teacher, a creator, an inspiration. Tyra, we know Model Land will be a huge success, and we will be right there at the starting gate.
Thank
cheering
you.
On.
Thank you so
Right,
much.
everyone? Is there anything else that we should leave these wonderful creators with?
Put your phones away at night.
Well, we definitely appreciate you two ladies. So why don't you come on in so we can close out this segment. And hopefully, Miss Tyra Banks, you are watching us today, because we're coming live from the unbelievable, I would say, conference that you've just hosted here at AT&T Shape at the Warner Brothers studio. And we have had 2 incredible women that were here supporting you and speaking truly the utmost and the next chapter for Miss Tyra Banks. So we hope that you're watching and support our show as we support your vision and our community on our society show. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Shout out to our Society TV. Pasadena, we love you.